As we move to one of the probably most popular sessions of MPW over the last few years, not only just MPW 21, I'm sure it's going to be today, but since we brought on the Innovation Spotlights, many people tuning in to see what's happening in the industry. So a big thank you to njuko, who is our title presenter of the, title partner of the Innovation Spotlight, and GSIC for their support. A big thank you to Pierre de Villeroy and his team from njuko, longtime supporters of MPW. We really appreciate your support. So the njuko Innovation Spotlight presented by GSIC, our first innovation coming from New Zealand and Australia. Our presenter is sitting in New Zealand. He is Benji Barsanti. He's the Managing Director of One Time. Some wonderful innovations in the timing industry, and a big welcome to you, Benji, and over to you.
Welcome, Benji. It's very exciting to finally meet you. Welcome to the Innovation Spotlight presented by GSIC. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So I would love to learn more about you, about your background. So feel free to share with us.
Yeah, kia ora. Thanks for having us here from Kapiti, New Zealand. Great to be involved, obviously. As Chris said earlier, I'm the Managing Director of One Time New Zealand and One Time International. And I guess a little bit about me. I'm a proud New Zealander, done my time across the world, worked in community sport and a number of other endurance event capacities, and now own my own events business in New Zealand, and also obviously work within One Time. So it's great to be here. It just ties things in really nicely.
Thanks a lot. Impressive background, Benji. So let's start shooting a few questions. The first one is, what sets One Time apart from all the other timing options that an event manager might be considering today, and what pains that it remove?
I guess for us, it's about how we approach our role in the event world. Essentially what we've now in the timing world is, I guess, just an updated form of a stopwatch and clipboard, right? Timing manufacturers and the companies out there are doing great stuff in the timing hardware space. But essentially, they're still relying on timers to be on the ground providing one service. And this is where we think we differ, because we approach it in a totally different way. We are there to enhance the event, to work with the event and maximize their engagement with their audience. And I guess that's the key thing that differentiates us. Timers on the ground all equal costs. It means that the focus is removed from the event. You know the deal, Inigo, the cable trays, the generator, the tent, the accommodation. Mm-hmm. What we're saying is take back your finish line, right? It's your finish line as an event. No one wants a timing caravan and a tent that dominates that finish area. It's your main focal point. And this is the point that allows you as an event director to sell your product. And we're not just talking about the mass participation, the mass production events. We're talking about small and medium-sized events. They've still got a product to sell, whether they're fundraising for the local school. Imagine that. A school can raise more money and save money because they are providing an excellent product. What we believe is that the world has moved in an incredible place and pace with engaged audience, and the expectation from that audience is just so much higher. But as an event industry, we're stuck because we have a traditional understanding of what timing is, and it's wrong, yeah. And all you have to do is jump on, as a complete example, all you have to do is jump on any timer forum, and it's a matter of pride of how complex timing is. The more cables and screens on show, the better. So I guess to revert to your question, what makes us different is we've approached our role in the event world and the event space in a completely new way. Whereas traditional timing is about complexity, we've approached the design of One Time about adding value to the event, about working with the event at every touch point to improve their value, to improve the journey that they're already on to provide great experience for their participants. And I think the fact that we're not tied to those traditional restraints means we're more flexible, we're more dynamic, and we're more resilient. We provide confidence and high quality results for sure, but our focus is on how we use these results and use that data to improve the event experience for people's competitors.
Okay, cool. Talking about timing, final line, competition, and so on, what sort of sport events are you targeting, and how big are they?
So one of our key values is to provide big event experiences for every event. Right? We just don't think it's fair that the high quality experience is just for the big guys. So, we have seen particular traction with small to medium sized events. We've got club events of 50 to 100 people using our system every week. And then we are timing world tour races such as Xterra and EWS. And the great thing for us is it doesn't matter how many people you have. They get the same quality results. We're not cherry picking events because they're more value to us and we're going to make more money. We're not really worried about the calendar squeeze, because you give us an event tomorrow and we can deliver it anywhere in the world with the same quality service, with the best timer. And most importantly, they're going to get the same quality experience for their competitors. We're working with small events. We've got a trail event next weekend, a small trail event, 150 people, ultra. We're giving them live tracking, live times, improved sponsor, which gives them improved sponsor and spectator engagement. 150 people. It's opened up the mountain bike market, the triathlon market, club races, all who traditionally are paying way over the odds for timing, or they're not paying for timing because there's no other option. Well, now there is. That's how we see it. And not only that, but we also supply the best rather than just who's local, who can actually attend. And that's the thing that's really exciting us, right? It's the way people are using One Time to provide great experiences for their participants. Our trail and mountain bike community, for example, safety the safety it provides is paramount. It's a really important part of what they deliver. And so having a system that's small and remote gives them data from areas of the course that they just can't normally access. And what that means is event safety team knows sometimes to within a kilometre where someone was last seen and where they're expected to be next. Imagine that in some of the experiences that we've seen in trail running, ultra running recently. We've also seen amazing traction in mountain bike enduros. Mountain bike traditionally has really poor timing because they're small events. Well, we've just changed that experience for them. And, on a personal experience, no more clocking in as I absolutely scream down an enduro run and then have to stop to try and clock out and get my time. Of course, we can time everything, but we love those small to medium sized events because we love the journey that they're going on. And what we're seeing in that world at the moment is that they're run by people who've got new ideas, who are changing the landscape of the event world, and we want to be on that journey with them.
Okay, Benji, you mentioned a few times that your company, One Time, is the first timing as a service solution. What does it mean for the event managers? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, first of all, we're there to work in partnership with the event director, and that's our key USP. And by working in partnerships, we open up opportunities. Excuse my fumble there. We're not just in a contractor relationship. Now, we call it non-contact, but essentially what we deliver is a remote service, and we can deliver this service anywhere in the world. And what that does is it allows us to save the event director time and money and focus on the things that are going to add value. So I'll give you an example of across the world. On the weekend, for example, we timed 8 events over 2 days from an office in Auckland. And a few weeks ago, when Auckland is in full lockdown, we timed 4 events, concurrently in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. That's 4 time zones. Australia has multiple time zones. 5 events from lockdown in an Auckland office. No distractions. And what we do around this timing as a service is by removing those distractions, we provide better experience for the event manager, for the participants, and we allow them to add value where it counts. Every event has a dedicated event specialist sitting in a specialist office. There's no blaring PA, no hundreds of people asking you their time. Remote can be scary for some event directors, but you know what? We have proven over and over again that by removing that timer from site, you get a better experience as an event director. That means we can work with you to change the perception of what a successful event will look like.
And besides the event manager, who else gains choosing one time? I mean, sponsors, participants, supporters, spectators, community. Can you share more about that?
Well, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, Inigo. Like when we remove complexity, we open up opportunities. And one time is robust. We've proven we're robust, we're reliant, but we're simple. And that allows us to think about things in a different way. When we have front-loaded the complexity of timing, so that on the event day, it's a one-button push and is timed by a specialist in a specialist working environment with limited distractions, then we improve on what is being delivered. It helps that event director improve the experience. And at the end of the day, that's the business that we're all in, right? We're about providing experiences, and sponsors want a piece of that pie. They want a piece of engaging in that grassroots, that community, and that's what we deliver. Through improved engagement, we add significant amount of value to event partners and their communities. More eyes on results means more eyes on sponsors, means more money. Improved data means more improved experience for spectators. We live in a world where every person has a phone glued to their hand, and we still run in events that have a finish line clock, and we think that is the bee's knees of an event day. It's irrelevant these days. We've got people that are demanding improved experience. Our remote system allows that, it delivers that improved event experience for them. In the hands of not only the competitor, our event day app, in the hands of not only a competitor, but in their spectators, but in the 10 to 15 people that have a vested interest. And I'll give you a clear example of that. We had an event the other day of 800 people, medium-sized event. Live tracking had 25,000 unique new kits. Now, we know live tracking is not new, but when we have 20 timing points on course at an affordable level, each sending live and accurate data to our event day app, each providing eyes-on sponsorship opportunities, suddenly a flag at the finish line and an event day clock is irrelevant. We've got real engagement at a real point of difference.
Okay, so the name of the company claims that you are saving money, and you are saving time for the event managers. Can you elaborate more on that?
It's in two elements. We partner with great people to ensure an end-to-end service, to ensure that you as an event director are just getting high-quality service from the moment you touch in a registration platform to the finish time. And events are about people, and one time allows you to save time. The events that we're targeting rely really heavily on volunteers. And we want our volunteers to engage with people. We take them away from stopwatches and laptops and the finish line. Let's get them smiling and welcoming and giving high fives and fist bumps, because that's the world that we're in. This engages them volunteers, and it means that they come back.
Okay, thanks a lot, Benji, for your time. I hope next year we will be able to meet in person at the event. True pleasure in meeting you, and thanks again for sharing such a valuable insights.
No, thanks, Inigo. It's been great being here. Nice to meet you.
Thanks so much for that great innovation, Benji, and all the best to you and the one-time team with taking that forward. I'm sure it's going to be a global phenomenon. And also a huge thank you to Inigo Bonilla, who's the Strategic Alliance and Business Development Director of GSIC, powered by Microsoft. We're going to be seeing plenty of Inigo over the rest of this morning. He's in conversation with every one of our 8 innovators. Thank you so much, Inigo. Great to see you. So as we move on from One Time, we're also in New Zealand, and this is one of our new partners. One Time also a partner of MPW21 and a long-time supporter. And we're delighted to welcome Blurter as a new partner, and a wonderful innovation that Chris Randall, who is the head of event success for Blurter, is going to share. I think something that is going to make a huge impact on making the planning of events easier, the tracking of medical cases, and many, many other benefits. I'm not going to steal Chris's thunder. I'm going to hand over to you, Chris. Welcome, and look forward to hearing more about Blurter.
Great to be here. Thank you very much. Chris Randall here. I'm the head of event success at Blurter. I have been working in the mass participation space within sport specifically for over the last 10 years now, and now helping events deliver better experiences with health and safety processes and communications.
Cool, thanks. Let me start with the first one. Event teams grows in size and complexity exponentially in the lead up to events, and there is a vast amount of education, briefing, and information for people to engage with. How can this be done effectively?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're very, very used as event professionals to having small teams, and then in the lead up to events, our teams start to escalate in size and scale. And it's really very hard, in my experience, to get all of that information out of your head that you've been working on probably for a year from a few people's heads into your teams. So I think traditionally, as part of our event readiness and preparedness, there's a big role for briefings. And I've done hundreds of briefings in my life to a variety of audiences, highly experienced groups of event professionals, suppliers, agencies, corporate sponsors, volunteer groups. And when I think back at all of those briefings that I've done, I can categorize them quite easily into the least effective ones were the ones that felt like me monologuing or lecturing or teaching people. And I think that in my past has been because we have these lists of things that we need to tell people. We have legislation, we have health and safety rules. And oftentimes things can be seen as this box ticking exercise. So someone will turn up on site and they're wearing a high-vis vest, for example, great example, the classic high-vis vest. And they're wearing it because I told them to, not because they understand the risks and treat health and safety and risk as that constant, So I think it's really challenging to do that effectively. And I really like the concept of starting to think of your event teams as a community. So when you think about community, it takes time to create a community. That starts with creating shared purpose and expectations. But if we really go a bit deeper than that, the same principles can be applied to building an effective team. So a couple of things that I always think of with community and team is that sense of belonging and having that shared purpose, but then making sure that the team feels like they're trusting the management. They feel safe. And if there's any vulnerability, they know what to do with that vulnerability. So ultimately, a community is where people feel valued and connected. So that's really, really hard to do with a briefing where you're sort of lecturing people, and it's really hard to come out of that. And then the other way we do that is with very detailed, complex manuals. So if availability as time is short, with a tool like Blurter, so what I do now is creating the systems and embedding that into people's events to create more highly connected teams or communities that feel less vulnerable because they have the ability of this app. So with Blurter, we work with events to integrate that into people's operations. And that connects people with good communication, broadcast messaging, access to documentation, forms, and processes. And recently we surveyed our customers, and they said that using Blurter has helped them to connect their frontline workforce by 5 times. So 5 times more people are connected. And that helps build that trust, reduce that vulnerability, and gives people access to tools and materials rather than just sitting them down in a classroom and telling them what you want them to do, because they very rarely remember it.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. And tell me deeper details about the advantages of approaching building effective teams to the capability rather than H&S education, and how we can do that.
Yeah, so for me, capability sort of by definition is giving people the power or the ability to do something. And if going back to that last example, if you tell people in a briefing or make them read a 1,000-page long operations manual, everyone's relying on memory. So, and it's almost impossible to remember everything. And I've had those experiences of getting up in front of a group of volunteers and saying, right, this is the process that you need to run through if something goes wrong, if you see an incident. And I think there's very experienced event professionals out there who they have that sort of mental muscle memory that builds it. That's our standard operation. And you can't hope to get your temporary workforces up to speed like that. And even for event teams now, we've had such a big disruption through the likes of COVID. That sort of muscle memory, if you like, the mental muscle memory, we haven't had so much of that. So as an example, we worked recently with the World Triathlon Long Distance World Championships in Almere in the Netherlands. And their team, over 700 staff, had access to the event documentation. They were getting live run sheet notifications. They had the ability to communicate. They were logging hazards during course inspections where they were geotagging and taking photographs. And that allowed them to create tasks and keep track of those fixes. So what we do at Blurter is take that overwhelming amount of information, because systems can get quite complex, and we put that in the palm of people's hands. So if they get stuck at any point, they don't have to remember what was that process that I was told in my briefing. Actually, it's probably in my app, and we have custom forms and we can do those things. So another way of thinking about that for me is if you create the systems and process using digital tools and you become innovative around that, you can almost trick your teams into living and breathing that health and safety and risk culture without them even knowing it, because you're just equipping them with better capability on the ground.
And Chris, nowadays one of the latest trends, or everyone is talking about, is digital transformation. So most of the sport organizations are trying to digitalize their business. Can you share with us further information about the risk and opportunities for a race director in that sense?
Yeah, so I always get told that the best way to sell technology is to sell the kind of upside, like what's it really positive. And I actually think for most race directors, executives, and management, the use of digital transformation actually reduces stress. Which it's an incredibly stressful experience putting on a large mass participation event. So having those digital tools available to you, knowing that if something goes wrong, you have instant mass communication if it's required, or that you've created more efficiency in your process. Another great stat that I love from one of our customer surveys is that on average, our customers think that their response times have become more efficient by twofold. So when something does go wrong, they can actually respond really rapidly because they can communicate really quickly. You can bypass that hierarchy. You don't have to start using phone trees and all of those kind of old school methodologies. And the communication's a lot wider. So, radio systems have limitations because you can only communicate to those people on radios. So we're creating better engaged workforce, and more community and connected workforce, leading to more productivity, really. I think there's a risk of digital transformation, though, that's worth talking about, because even when people come to me and say, right, we want to use Blurter, we want to get all these benefits out of it, there's some change that needs to happen. And the shortest time frame I've had is an event call us up on a Monday and said, we want to use Blurter this weekend. And it takes a little bit of time to embed it in, identify your champions, look for the change leadership, education and onboarding to make sure you're getting the most out of the system. So I typically spend a lot of time talking to our customers about actually how they're going to get the most out of it, and over a number of event iterations. Also, don't necessarily start really big. So if you've got a couple of events a year, do a trial first. Don't do your biggest event and say we're going to use all the functionality and we're going to put everyone on the system. It does take a little bit of time, and don't underestimate that. That'll be the biggest risk from my side.
Yeah, we always recommend the people to implement like proof of concepts or pilot projects before launching the whole project. So let's talk about the impact of the pandemic in the industry. So we are living at tight financial times, and some organizers may see this as a cost that they can afford. How does it save them money, and why is it a good investment for them?
Yeah, so the easiest way to think of it is time is money. So digital solutions often buy efficiency. So as an example there, we work with St. John in New Zealand, St. John being our emergency services ambulance provider. They also deliver event health services to over 4,000 events a year. And we work with them. We've digitized their patient medical forms, and all of their systems are now integrated into our event operations center. So you can get up-to-date sit reps at any given time. You can know how many people are at different levels, and that's just not information that's available for before. Secondly, I think it allows time to be spent on important topics. So rather than having to train people in the basics, you can actually train people in things that are going to be really helpful. I was on a call earlier today around security risk, and training people in de-escalation is probably a much more effective use of time than telling them, this is the number to call if you've got a problem. So the system does all of that for you. So then you can spend time actually training people in those sort of interrelationship based things. And then there's some really good stuff around, there's all the data is in there. So it's great for post-event reports that may have been superficial in the past, or you have backup data, if you end up in court or have an insurance claim. So centralizing all of those communications and physical geotech data and images allows if something does go wrong, then you have access to a whole lot more data a whole lot quicker at the end of the day.
Okay, thanks a lot for your time, Chris, and congratulations for all what you have achieved so far. It's a true pleasure to meet you, and hopefully next year we will be meeting in person in the event.
I hope so. I really do. I'd love the borders to become open, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with you in person. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Chris. All the very best to you and Blurta with your expansion. I know you bring decades of experience with the likes of Ironman, and I think there's going to be some great impact on the industry from this wonderful innovation that you are bringing to the market. Next, we move on to our third innovation of the day, and delighted to welcome an old friend personally and of MPW, Ashish Bhushan. Ashish, for many years, and where I first met him was with the Tata Mumbai Marathon. He's now set up his own company, which is called Chapter 3 Services. He's the founder and CEO. He's bringing us an innovation called ActHive, which looks amazing to me. Again, he's in conversation with Inigo. Over to you, Ashish and Inigo.
Well, first of all, Ashish, many thanks for joining us today. It's a true pleasure to finally meeting you. I hope to meet you in person very, very soon. And welcome to the session of Innovation Spotlight presented by Jessic. So first of all, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, Inigo, pleasure meeting you. And, thank you to the organizing team at Mass Participation World for putting this conference together and for having me here. So my name is Ashish Bhushan, and I'm based out of Mumbai in India. After a long corporate career with various organizations in media, consulting, and marketing, I set up my own venture, Chapter 3 Technologies, a few years ago. And now, I'm on a path of building a product, which is a community fitness product. So that's just a little bit about me, Inigo.
Perfect. Well, let's start with the first question. You mentioned the community fitness, and you're building a product around that. So please tell us more about this product and the spark that did this innovation idea.
Yeah, so, it's been an interesting journey over the last 2 years, particularly. As I said, this is a community fitness platform, and this essentially allows anyone to create fitness events for their communities, anyone being defined as corporates who may want to do so for their employees, their customers, their trade, educational institutions that may want to, engage with their alumni, students, NGOs who may want to, engage with their donors and beneficiaries. and even people like us, as individuals who may want to create fitness events for our family, friends, and loved ones. The way we've defined fitness as part of this product really starts from simple things like walking, jogging, running, but also over a period of time, we would add, swimming, cycling, and other aspects of fitness, all the way up to yoga, meditation, and so on. Anything that would enable, physical and mental well-being for people. It's the spark, as you said, was really triggered around the pandemic, because that's the time in the last 2 years, I think we've all seen new trends, new behaviors sort of, come up. And two fronts that we've seen closely. One was, of course, about, the aspect of social distancing, people relocating to smaller towns, travel restrictions, and so on and so forth. And that, I think, really brought out the importance of being connected. And the other aspect is about fitness, which we all know. I mean, we have to build our immunity, our family's immunity, and also the people around us. And so this product essentially attempts to address and see if we are able to create something meaningful in the space of community fitness.
I'm pretty sure that you will achieve that goal. And talking about the community that is central in this innovation, tell us how you define the community in this context of your product.
Yeah, and community is one of the key themes of this conference as well. And so the way we defined community, was that it's, after all, starting with an individual. And it is about an individual that wears multiple hats and has the desire, the ability, and the commitment to bring the community together. That's really how, we define community. I mean, if you take my own example, and I'm sure we all have our own multiple hats that we wear. I mean, I'm a founder of a company. I've been with multiple organizations and quite connected with the leadership of those companies even now, and people who moved on from those companies. I'm an alumnus of a school, a college, a postgraduate institution. I'm a member of the Rotary Club. I'm part of an organization called The Art of Living. I live in a certain sort of complex here in Mumbai. I have an extended family, with aunts, uncles, cousins, and so on. So it's really about the different sort of hats that we wear with different relationships that we have. I think this product is really trying to tap into that aspect to see if I can be empowered and I can have the flexibility to create, fitness events using technology for the people I care about.
Okay, and let's talk about Act Hive. Okay, can you tell us more about this and what we can expect from this in terms of features and functionalities?
Yeah, so Act Hive, is actually the name of the product, and it really is about active hives. It's about being active together, and we were very conscious that while, of course, we are a community fitness platform, but we wanted to be a community first platform to start with. Of course, the individual performance measures, including distance and time and speed and calories and steps, etc., will all be there. But we're very conscious of the fact that there are many platforms that do a fantastic job of it. So the idea was not to really go there. What we are very inspired by, and one of the analogies that we draw from, is really how organizations, do their performance assessment at the end of the year. If you think about it, increments and promotions of an individual is ultimately based on his or her own performance, the performance of the department that he or she is part of, and of the organization. So that's something that, we've taken as a principle here, saying we want to make sure that it's interlinked. And it isn't just about my individual performance, but part of the group that I'm of, and also the event as a whole. So there are very many features that, you will see in the product, including custom leaderboards. So for example, if a corporate, hosts an event using this platform, they will be able to see performances by department. You could see marketing, sales, HR, finance, and so on. If an educational institution uses the platform, they'll be able to see performances by the year of passing out, let's say 2005 or 2006, and so on. Also mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, a whole host of, other educational streams, and the list can go on. At a functional level, of course, people can create events and join events, and it could be for 5 people, 50, 500, or 50,000. The platform will enable all of this to happen via the features it builds.
Okay, cool. As you may know, at this mass participation conference, we have representation from a number of event organizing teams from across the globe. And this industry has faced several challenges over the last few months, where events were cancelled, postponed, and revenues has dropped. So is there any relevance of your product to this group?
Yeah, and this is a subject that's close to my heart in many ways. I've seen the mass participant industry up close, and also the pain and challenges that we've all gone through over the last couple of years of the pandemic. Well, look, I think firstly, the industry has done exceedingly well pre-pandemic to have brought in digital, various technology, virtual initiatives, and that was already underway. And I think during the pandemic, I think that many ways got accelerated. That said, I believe that while, of course, the events will come back much bigger, much stronger, there's no question in my mind about it. A few things are unlikely to change. For example, there will continue to be people who don't make the cut to join a certain event in terms of timing and performance. There will be people who cannot travel despite their best intentions to be there. And there will be people who may not want to be in large crowds. Now, the question really is, how can various sort of event organizers use platforms such as this to be able to reach out to this community of people that I just spoke about and make them feel a part of the event, because that's really going to be important. It isn't about just another virtual avenue for people to participate, but for them to really feel part of the story.
And let's talk about a funny thing. I've seen that I can celebrate my birthday in your app. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it is fun actually. Yeah, in fact, we've already tested this with a couple of people. One thing that's common amongst all of us, we all have a birthday. We all, want to celebrate a birthday, and we all want to celebrate with our loved ones. They may be in your city, they may not be in your city, but we all want to stay connected with them. So one of the features is really about, hosting your birthday party using ActHive, keeping in mind people who may not be in the same geographical location or time zone, and also people, who may not really want to sort of always be there for an evening out. I mean, they may prefer a morning walk or a run, and they are more fitness oriented. So what you could do is you could potentially, use this to create a birthday party. You can invite, hundreds of your friends and family from around the world, and they'll be able to see, fun engagements, fun leaderboards. There is a gallery, where they can upload their pictures and videos. They can comment. And that's something that, one of the first events had done using the app, where it was the 48th birthday of this person we know. He called it as a 2 to 50 event. He went out there and he said, look, I want you all to run or walk 48 kilometers. It may take you 3 days. It may take you 7 days. That's all right. He gave various charity options like 48 rupees to 480 to 4,800 and so on. And all of that was going towards the cause of Little Hearts, which is a cause which is close to his heart. And funnily enough, at the end of it, he got 48 participants also coming in, which he hadn't engineered, but it just so happened. So it is fun. It's a fun way to celebrate. I myself had my birthday last week, using the app, and got a few of my loved ones sort of joining in. So I encourage everybody to use the app for their birthdays.
Okay, Ashish, before concluding, are there any case studies that you would like to share with us?
Well, yeah, we had a very interesting initiative in EGO recently on the 14th of November by an NGO which is called Udan India Foundation. They are, of course, in the space of education for the less privileged children. And because of the pandemic, they've also had a fair bit of disruption with all the children going to their hometowns and so on. So they were looking at a way to bring together the students and the alumni, their volunteers. And ActHive was used by them on the 14th of November, which is Children's Day, and that's of significance. Interestingly, it was also the 17th year of the organization. So they did a 17-year walkathon from morning 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the night, where every hour somebody or the other was sort of, walking, running in different parts of the country. They attached the theme of Greenathon just to bring about greater environment consciousness in people. And I think, the way they used the gallery function, the way they celebrated coming together, they almost had 352 kilometers covered amongst 120 people. And 75% of the total number of people actually completed the pledge distance. So we were very encouraged by this case study.
Okay, thanks a lot, and congratulations once again for such an amazing product. I wish you the best of lucks, and I hope to meet you in person very, very soon.
Look forward, Inigo. Pleasure meeting you. And thank you to Mass Participation World once again.
Thanks so much, Ashish. I think a great opportunity to make an impact on people's lives in terms of a platform to engage with and exercise with. I particularly love that idea, which Inigo seemed to love as well, of getting together and rather than going to the pub on your birthday, getting your friends around the world to join you in some exercise and then maybe head off to the pub afterwards. So all the very best as you expand on that one. And that brings us to innovation number 4 in the njuko Innovation Spotlight, presented by GSIC. And we welcome from Singapore now, and a big mention that Ashish, we went from New Zealand across to India, and we now take a little bit of a step back to Singapore. And we welcome Jeffrey Fu, who is the Managing Director, Infinitus Productions. Known Jeffrey for many years from the industry in Singapore, puts on many of Singapore's big running events. And Jeffrey has come to share with us Move by Lively, and of course, again, he's in conversation with Inigo. Over to you, gentlemen.
Okay, Jeff, first of all, thanks a lot for joining us today. I hope to meet you in person very, very soon. I'm glad to hear that you are based in Singapore as well. So first of all, can you tell us more about your experience, about your background and your experience in live events?
Sure. Thank you so much for introducing me. About myself, I spent the last 15 years producing in-person events. Particularly, I produce most of the large scale and mass participation running events, but it also includes multi-sports like triathlon. Started in Singapore since 2007. Of course, we grew and we went regional, mostly Southeast Asia itself, and then went on to China. So when I was based in China between 2016 and 2018, this is when I discovered the wonders of fitness tech. In China itself, a digital fitness platform is essentially a super app itself. And then I looked back into where I'm from, Southeast Asia mainly, and it presented itself a massive opportunity. So that's where we started to pivot towards digital fitness. Unfortunately, hit by COVID-19 in 2020, that's where we had to really, look at, what's going to keep us afloat. Right? That's where in 2020, we started to dish out virtual runs on our platform itself. This is where I am today. We have access to Asia Pacific runners. At the same time, we're building out our digital fitness capability.
Perfect. So, Jeff, as you mentioned before, you have achieved a broad experience in live events, and you were already planning to create a virtual platform, and then COVID hit. So, what was your inspiration to create a virtual event company?
The real inspiration came about, or rather, I would say the motivation, because being a traditional brick and mortar business, right? There's only this much we can achieve because in being in a actual physical running events, and I'm sure Chris will agree with me entirely, right? It takes ages, right? Minimum 6 months to 12 months to literally plan, and that is just to house or to accommodate between 10 to 30,000 people. What about those beyond that, capital city itself? what about those that are in the outlying areas where geography, by accessibility, and we are denying these so-called people who wants to be part of an engagement, which was why what motivated us being able to build and allow accessibility, and more so, being able to connect beyond just a single day event. So that's what motivated me.
Very interesting and very inspiring. Thanks for sharing, Jeff. And you've been working with sportswear brands for years, and now you are working with leading brands like Disney, Marvel, and Universal. What are you finding is attracting more these kind of companies about virtual runs and the technology that you are using?
The way we look at fitness is unlike what others look at. Today, we define fitness as being social, right? Social and community. When you have a community and you make social fitness being sort of the excuse to get together to exercise and have a great time, that's where we are positioned in terms of user acquisition, in terms of engagement. Therefore, when we had the opportunity to work with Disney's Star Wars and followed by Marvel, and right now we have Jurassic World with Universal Studios, it literally opens up a new catchment of users. Someone who may not have thought about being able to complete a 5 km walk or even a jog, suddenly, because they are a fan, they want to collect, the collector's medal, putting on a T-shirt, and that allows us to connect and acquire new users. But at the same time, it allows such brands or thematic brands as Disney's to be able to continue the engagement with their fans digitally. All right, we all know during COVID-19, all the parks in the world are shut down. Right, and the only way is a one-way interaction, which is via Facebook or Instagram. But this, what we have done through a virtual run, and right now with Jurassic World, we add on a augmented reality feature. So each time you unlock a milestone, a new dinosaur pops up, which is very interesting. And that has shown traction. And therefore, of course, right now we are talking to other brands, non-traditional, I would say in the health and wellness brand, we are even talking to them as well.
I think that's very interesting and a great approach for sure. Okay, Jeff, you have run plenty of different virtual events, for example, in Singapore, like races like Straits Times and the Great Eastern Women's Run. And what do you see as the next evolution of the events business and leveraging new technologies? Is there a room for virtual reality as well?
Oh, definitely. It goes without saying, right? We will never get back to where we were. Right, moving forward is going to be a new normal. What that meant essentially is, it is, of course, everybody has their own definition. But to us, and we've already proven it through our most recent event, Great Eastern Women's Run, having 4,500 female participants, engaging them for a good 8 weeks of activities, mini challenges, every week different challenges, and the amount of I would say media, or rather social media shares that we received, right, through all these engages, right, our media exposure went through the roof. And lead up to the final day, which essentially is the in-person, of course this year was the in-person elites race. 15 elite runners in Singapore ran against each other on 14th of December in person itself. But at the same time, it is also the beginning of the 4,500 female participants across the entire island will attempt to clocking their distances itself. So moving forward is definitely digital engagement, digital virtual run, if you put it, is definitely here to stay. How we gamify it is really how we plan on engaging the fans, the members, the runners, and obviously the lead up itself to the actual event. So like building up the entire hype, right, and end with a big bang. And right after that, there's a continue engagement as well, right? It's like, oh, the post recovery, sponsors want to thank them, so on and so forth. Yeah, I think definitely that will be the new norm.
Okay, and how are you planning to keep this kind of communities engaged?
We are building out our social feature of our next fitness app itself. There will be a social feature share where it's kind of almost like an Instagram. Once you're done running, you take a selfie, you post, that day, what are your thoughts? Similarly, we just want to build out a community with the social sharing that's really more meant for the social and fitness communities. So that's how we plan to continue the engagement.
Okay. Well, Jeff, as you may know, a frequent question in interviews is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So I will ask you, where do you see your company in the next 24 months?
We definitely are moving towards the digital capability built up. As of right now, things are still very uncertain, especially for guys like us who are in the live event businesses. While that is slowly making a comeback, we definitely want to build out our capability, getting ready to launch next year our latest version that eventually will build up to our entire ecosystem. And taking the next 24 months to literally to morph our digital presence. And when live events comes back, right, literally we form an entire ecosystem around it itself. So the key is, the core is, when you have a community, naturally, event owners will want to market their events. At the same time, when you have a community, brands will want to be able to come in and to be able to cross-sell itself. So that's what we want to do. We want to continue pushing very hard on our digital capability. What that meant is really depending on how fast we can raise our current round. That meant hiring the right resources, building out the tech part, and pushing out to our current users itself. And of course, in terms of the partnership, we are having conversation with partners across the entire region, convincing them it's about time, we come together collectively, because there's only win-win for both, right? Not just for us as event owners or event organizers, but at the same time for the public, the users itself, where it's almost like a one-stop shop. Find me the best run in Bali, boom, everything just pops out. Find me the best, exclusive event in Vietnam, boom, everything literally just pops up. So that's what we want to do. Yeah, just remember that we want to be able to build out a social fitness super app for Asians. As simple as that. Of course, saying it's easy, but of course, then there's a mountain of challenges ahead of us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. But finger crossed that the situation will be a bit better in the next few months.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeff. It was a true pleasure in meeting you. Thanks a lot for sharing such valuable insights. I think most of the people will love what you share with us, and I hope to meeting you in person very, very soon.
Sure, thank you.
Already some wonderful innovations in our spotlights, our njuko innovation spotlights presented by GSEC. And we're delighted as we move along to stay in Singapore for a short while and welcome Natalie Markar, who is the owner and CEO of Metasport, another longtime friend of MPW. Natalie has a wonderful innovation that she is going to be discussing with Inigo. It's called My Race Gate, and without taking too much away, so many virtual events have happened, and one of the real things with virtual events is they're all on different courses. I know that Natalie and her team at Metasports have put a huge amount of work into planning this, and My Race Gate gives the opportunity to actually set a course but still run virtual events on it, so you have this opportunity for leaderboards and people to be running exactly the same course. So without taking too much further away, over to you, Nat and Inigo.
Well, always good to see you, Natalie. Thanks a lot for joining us to this session. I think the audience would love to learn more about your experience, so the floor is all yours.
Hi, Inigo, and thanks for having me. I have been running Metasport in Singapore for the past 11 years, and we've been organizing events in endurance sports, triathlon, swimming, cycling, running. Yes, obviously in the past 18 months or now almost 2 years, things have sort of slowed down, but we have managed to transform ourselves and innovate.
You mentioned about Metasport, and you have recently created a COVID solution to events. So could you please share more details about this solution and what are these events?
Yes, so obviously in our industry, everything collapsed 2 years ago, and we felt that we had the commitment to keep on delivering events, and we like everyone else, I guess, we looked for a solution, and what we thought of. Well, there were two main limitations for social distancing and creating an event that would have a minimum footprint, because of course no venue owners would let you rent a venue in the past 2 years. So we have created a new format. For us, it's really our next generation events that combine the physical world and the virtual world. So we have, these are the events we have created are physical events that are powered by an app that we developed. They are as close as events. They're as close they can be from physical events, in the sense that we organize them on a physical and designated course. And the participants are guided from start to finish by an audio navigation system. And the other physical parts are the fact that there is an MC voice giving encouraging messages, and we have a virtual coach that's powered by AI, and that allows us to give people some updates on their performance during their run. So that's what we've done, and so we've never really stopped organizing events for the past 2 years. It's been, all probably shorter than that, because it took us probably a year to really get the app and running and test it and improve it and stabilize it. But that's what we've done.
Okay, thanks a lot. And how do they differentiate themselves from virtual events?
So the main element of differentiation is is the fact that they are on a designated course, which first levels the playing field and allows participants to be timed on exactly the same course. And this was important to us because we are but we eliminated what we thought were flaws of virtual racing. The fact that there is no, or it's very hard to provide a fair ranking and a fair competition due to the fact that everyone run a 10K or 5 kilometers on a different terrain with different elevations and different conditions. So this is what makes it different from virtual races.
And in terms of sponsors, how they can activate at these events, what are the main benefits for them?
So sponsors can activate on in different ways because we can customize completely the audio messages. We can get the sponsors or the event owners to record any message they want. Because nobody wants to hear too much promotional messages while they are running, but it has to be done at the right time of the run, in the right place, with the right voice, and this has worked really well. We've done some events this year with Decathlon, and they activated this very well. But there are other ways for sponsors to activate. We have we're able to customize certain parts of the app, and because there is a physical element, sponsors can also have some branding presence on site. So we do have a physical start line at most events with it's a very simple setup, but a flag and a few boards. So there is that's the other way to activate. And we are doing, actually, as we speak now, we're just finishing a corporate event that UFIT, we are doing in cooperation with UFIT in Singapore. And that's something they have done very well. Again, activate using the audio voice and the branding on site to promote their brand.
And for the sponsors, one of the most important things is the community. So how do you engage with this community? What are the core areas?
Well, again, what was fun is that we've had people who were naturally coming together because there was a common goal, because there was again, everyone was sharing an experience in the sense that we're doing a run on the same course as everyone else. You may do it one day later, or one day after, or in the morning, what they're doing in the afternoon. But it's on the same place, same course. So you have the same type of experience. So that has created some engagement that, of course, took place mainly online. But let's take the example of what has happened in Singapore in the past, past few months, where events could resume, but with only 50 people by groups of 50. So we could have 50 people in the same 30-minute time slot. So we did have a lot of groups of 50 or 30 or 40 people have to book their slot, and so the community came a lot from the fact that people were coming with their colleagues or their friends or families, or we had charity groups deciding to join together, and we thought that there was a good level of engagement.
And do you think this innovative solution can help the growth of industry events?
I think it will, definitely. I think that only a very small portion of a fraction of recreational runners have been joining events. And we think that and that's for various reasons. Probably there is a cost element. If you think of the big iconic marathon of 10 kilometers or other events, they are often or some of them are beyond price that everyone can afford. There are sometimes logistic complications. There is occasionally the unfriendly early morning start. And I think in general, for a lot of people who run regularly but who never do a mass participation event, is the fact that there is pressure to perform. And we think that the solution we find is eliminating this, where people run, they book a time slot, they run with whoever they want, 2 friends or hundreds. And yeah, so I think from this point of view, it will get more people into sport events.
Cool. And last but not least, will these events replace mass participation events in the near future?
It certainly won't. People are still, people are. Why do people take part in a mass participation event? There is the element, the buzz, the social element that we can recreate to a certain extent, but the buzz is missing. And actually, we've now had just below 10,000 people have taken part in our event, and the post-event, 80% of them in the post-event surveys said they would come back and do another event like this, another next gen event. So it's positive, and we think there is again a new audience to capture. But again, at the same time, these people will keep doing the physical events, and probably it will feed in. It will feed. This new audience may feed physical events.
Okay, thanks a lot, Natalie, for answering all my questions. It's always a pleasure, as I said before, to see you. Hopefully, we will meet in person very, very soon. And I wish you the best of luck for the next few months.
Thanks a lot, Inigo.
Thanks so much, Nat and Inigo. All the very best with that. I know it started fairly small in Singapore, but I could see this really taking off around the world, and hopefully MPW 21 provides a platform to be able to share this with others around the world. And a very big thank you again to our partners, njuko, our title sponsor of the Innovation Spotlights, and GSEC as our presenters, and of course Inigo for sitting in the studio and having a conversation with all of these innovators. Next up, and I think we all know that charity is a massive, massive component of mass participation. I was talking to Murphy Reinschreiber, the race director of LA Marathon, a few weeks ago, and the comment that he made is mass participation and charity are joined at the hip, and that's certainly the case in many parts of the world. And many events looking for ways to make giving easier, to bring more money. Obviously, in these times, not only has our industry been decimated, but many charities have, particularly the ones that depend on races taking place. So we're delighted now. We're heading further west across the globe, and as now we head to Ireland, and we speak and meet with Alan Coyne and Brian O'Neill from iDonate, and they have a wonderful innovation which is called Swift Donate. Some great technology here which I think has amazing application. A big welcome, Alan and Brian. I hope you brought your bottle of Jameson with you, because Jameson plays a big part in your story for those whiskey lovers. And again, obviously in conversation with Inigo Bonilla.
Well, welcome to this outstanding session, Alan and Brian. Many thanks for joining me. It's a true pleasure in meeting you. And first of all, I would like to give you the floor to introduce yourselves and a bit of your background and why you decide to partner with each other.
Perfect. Nice to meet you, Inigo, and thanks very much for the opportunity to present today. I'm the co-founder of iDonate. We set up the company back in 2010 as a fundraising platform to support some local charities around our area here. Set up myself and my father, Paddy, and we had a web development business prior to that and still operate the web development business, but we found there a need for kind of an alternative fundraising platform, and it was set up to support some local charities, and over the years it's grown considerably, and to the point in kind of COVID it kind of took off in a completely new trajectory, let's say, and we've kind of been in a rapid growth the last couple of years. So that's when Brian decided to join us in about 18 months ago. We needed some help.
Is it only 18 months? First of all, Inigo, thanks very much for having us today, and it's really good to be invited to speak. Look, as Alan said, iDonate has been kind of flying. The guys brought me on about 18 months ago. I have a history working within the sector from a supplier perspective, but also from a fundraising perspective as well, which I hope has added something to it. And from our perspective, iDonate is really focused about trying to make, our tagline is making giving easier. And that's for everyone. That's for the donor and for the fundraiser as well. So it's been a hell of an 18 months, Alan.
Yep, sure has. Busy.
Okay, so I'm very excited about learning more about this new initiative. So what is iDonate?
Yeah, iDonate, it's an online fundraising platform that I'm sure we're all familiar with the concept, and we support over 3,000 causes and charities across Ireland at the moment. And as I mentioned, we've considerably grown during COVID. We're probably transacting 5 times more donations in 2021 than we did, say, in 2018. So we're at this stage now where we're looking to expand and grow into new territories. We're going to expand into the UK in 2022. And we pride ourselves on kind of innovation and excellence in customer service. And a tagline that Brian said, it's making giving easier. So that's what we're constantly trying to do, develop new tools and innovations that will help our charities and partners to accept donations easier.
Okay, cool. Brian, tell me, what is Swift Donate? Because I think it's a different product somehow.
Swift Donate is brilliant, first of all, right? So everyone who launches a new product should believe that. And I really do genuinely believe that. It's an answer, I suppose, to a question which has been in the sector for a while, which is cashless society has been moving forward. So everyone's been moving away from coins and cash for a long time. And it's how to make giving via your phone or cashlessly as easy as possible. So Alan will give you the inception of this, built over a bottle of Jameson. I will say that a lot of this is us reacting to conversations that we have with our partners all the time about, okay, we're living in a COVID society. We're moving this way anyway. I'll give you a good example. My mother, who's 87, now taps her card for all her purchases. So if my mother's doing that, I think everyone in the world is doing that now at the moment. And I think COVID has brought that forward. So what Swift Donate is, it's a easy cashless way of making donations via iDonate. It's a specific module which we've added to the administration panel of the platform, which links to a lovely little home screen, which is mobile optimized, and you can change your banner and your colors and so on. But primarily, it's all about trying to get instant pay through Apple Pay or Google Pay on your phone. Now, we work that by linking the app to QR codes, which I suppose everyone is well aware of QR codes. But since there's been the evolution in mobile technology, since the kind of ISO 9 and Apple or 11, things have moved forward. So it's much easier now to use your QR code. You just take your picture and go. Or these really cool little things, which I love, which are your NFC tags, which will automatically be picked up by your phone as well. And so what that allows is, it means that for a charity's perspective or for an organization's perspective, that we can now create avenues to make donations, to quick and easy donations via their outdoor, through their advertising, through their leaflets, through their flyers, through their merchandise. So things like lanyards, wristbands, things like that. And that's the basis of Swift Donate.
Okay, Adam, I'm very curious. How did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, it's one that's kind of a story built around a bottle of Jameson, let's say, that one night, when Friday night after a busy week, I decided to crack open a bottle, and on the lid of the bottle, they have now a tap to view content, unique content and that kind of stuff. So when I kind of tapped my phone against the lid of the bottle of Jameson, up came some kind of how it's made and all that kind of stuff. So that got me thinking of how can we incorporate this type of technology, which has been around for a long time, and QR codes have obviously in COVID times have become a lot more common. So how can we bring those kind of technologies and Google Pay and Apple Pay together to make new donation points for charities where they can accept donations from people through the likes of these little key rings and things like that, or a simple kind of wristband where if I'm wearing my wristband, I can get somebody to come up, tap it, and that opens up the donation point on the phone. So a simple tap, click, donate process for the supporters, and allows charities just to receive more donations easily.
Okay, Brian, let's talk about the technical perspective of the solution. I would love to learn more about how it works.
So from the technical perspective, it's actually really easy, and that's kind of key to the whole thing. So it works off either your QR codes, you can probably see one there, or your NFC tags. I think I've shown them there. And what it does is it allows you to retrofit or to add contactless payments to any of your merchandise, to your posters, to anything that you have out in the public, to make that an avenue for donation. Then we can add analytics to everything that's been tagged, so you can start to really break down what's working and what's not working, what avenues are getting most success, and obviously the more data you have, the better things are. And that will then lead to your donation screen, which is as easy as tap your phone, click your Google Pay or Apple Pay, bang, and done. It also adds the fun factor, and I think Alan will go into this now in a second, but we're working around with different organizations about trying to find interesting and unique ways of engaging with participants or fundraisers. And that can come down to things like lanyards and wristbands where people can tap, and it creates a point of conversation as well as a point of donation. Even down to things like t-shirts, which is a really interesting way of having your tap me here, make your donation, and it goes through.
Yeah, and just like to expand on what Brian was saying there, like we look at the event industry as a major opportunity for this type of technology, and to give the charities another channel to receive donations. So like if you look at any big run organized by a charity, they want to see how can we give those participants other options to donate or to fundraise. So we're working with a supplier at the moment, for example, that will take the medals that each participant gets and add a QR code or NFC tag to those medals. So straight away, those medals now become a new channel for donations. The participant can donate themselves after the run, or they can get their family or friends to say congratulations, and there you go, here's a donation well done. As Brian said, the t-shirts that they wear on the day, we can have those all NFC tagged, enabled to allow the participants to receive donations by a tap of their sleeve. Their lanyards that they wear for their IDs, anything like that. Everything becomes, as I said, a donation point if we embed this technology. QR codes, very low cost to get those kind of things printed on materials, or the NFC tag, again, a very, very low cost solution addition to items that are already out there, and makes everything a donation point. So we really are trying to make giving easier through this technology.
Okay, sounds very, very interesting. I can ask several more questions, but I think we are running out of time. So thanks a lot, both Alan and Brian, for sharing all this information. I think everyone would love to learn more about your company, and hopefully we will be able to meet in person very, very soon.
Hopefully.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much there, Alan and Brian. What a wonderful innovation. I think it's going to have a massive impact on the charity ability to make charity impact through mass participation. As I said in the intro, always looking for ways to give more money, but also to make it easier for organizers and our participants. So all the very best with that. As we now move a little bit further to the west and we drop in Boston, where we meet Cade Neshka. And Cade has a wonderful innovation as well. It is called NeuRun. Cade has an amazing background in neuroscience. He's the founder and CEO of NeuRun. Of course, again, he's in conversation with njuko. And this is a wonderful innovation which helps participants to visualize the course before they get there. Partnership with events to be able to do a course recording, and then participants don't arrive on the day with no knowledge of the course. They be able to build in a whole bunch of coaching notes and sponsor integration. A really wonderful innovation here. So over to you. Tell us the great story of NeuRun. Over to you, Cade and njuko.
Welcome to the Spotlight session, Kate. It's a true pleasure to be meeting you. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I'm very keen to learn more about your background and your experience, so please feel free to share with us what you have been doing over the last few years.
Hi, thank you for having me on. It's nice to meet you as well. So my name is Cade, and I'm the founder and CEO of NeuRun, which is a course strategy app that helps runners mentally prepare for road or trail courses ahead of race day. And before we get more into what NeuRun is and how we came about the idea, a little bit of background of me is I started running when I was probably in 4th grade and found my love of running in elementary school with after-school running programs, which I then went into middle school, ended up doing cross country, started to love running in the woods, and then in high school I started to run competitively. Cross country, I went to state 3 times. I used track mainly to support my cross country efforts. And then I ended up at Duke University, where I wasn't quite good enough to join the varsity team. So I ran the club team, on the club team, where I got to do road and trail races and ran at different university meets. And it was during this time at Duke where I studied neuroscience, and I got to really explore my passion for the brain and running. And, you know, I always knew the mental health benefits of running just from my own experience, you know, the clear thoughts I got after a good run, or just the feel good emotions that I would have when running. And, you know, the reduced impact of stress had in my life because of my running. And so during this time, you know, I had a lot of friends who were stressed from studies, and I wanted to share this experience with my friends. So I tried to get them to go running. And what I found was a great motivator was to sign up for a race, whether it was their first 5K or half marathon, because it allowed them to commit to running, you know, with the end goal in mind, and in the process get to experience the mental health benefits that running had to offer. And so, you know, during this time, all focus was on the brain and running, and it allowed me to have this aha moment in one of my neuroscience classes, in which I was learning about the visualization and the brain and the power it had on performance. And I started to realize, like, oh, it's interesting, because anytime I would go to a race or my friends were preparing for races, we had everything when it came to physical preparedness, from their weekly training plans to nutrition planning, all of that stuff, but nothing really when it came to mental preparedness. And you know, I thought, like, oh, we get a basic map outline, but it's really hard to know what the course looks like from a basic map outline. Or if we knew the course, which most of the times we didn't, but if we knew the course, when we wanted to get tips on how to get a personal best on that course, The only times we could do that is if there was a very popular course and there was some YouTube video or running forum or Facebook group that talked about specific tips to improve your performance for that course. But you would never find that for more of a local race. And so this is what led to NewRun, our course strategy app, that now enables race organizers and their selected coaches to visually and mentally prepare their race participants with the course knowledge and confidence to achieve their race day goals. And so two main features of NewRun is it's an app where you find your race and you read a course overview about the race you're doing, and you're able to open up this course visualization that takes you through the entire course so that you can familiarize yourself with all the ins and outs of the route, with aid station locations, mile markers, what will be on the course, everything so that you can know what to expect when you walk up to the start line, the hills, all that stuff. But then the second key feature is knowing what to do along the course. So these are clickable notes that you can click through along the course video that provides you with insights from the event and back, like the event coaches who help you say, like, at this point in the course, this is going to be slower, so this is what you should do. At this aid station, this is what will be here. So this is how you should, what you should grab from the aid station in order to advance your goals, in order to have your best race performance. And so, now we're excited about what our technology enables races to do when it comes to communicating key parts of their course and helping runners achieve their best performance on race day.
Okay, Kate, tell me more about your experience working with racers. What type of racers have you worked with so far?
Yeah, so, in 2018 and 2019, we conducted small test pilots with a few road and trail races with the goal in 2020 to scale the platform at many events. But the pandemic occurred. And so that allowed us to innovate on our platform, add more features. And just a few months ago in September, we relaunched a new experience with the San Francisco Marathon, California International Marathon, the Big Sur Marathon's promoting it shortly. And then also Adidas had a big trail event in the Austrian Alps. It's their relay race, really cool race to the Austrian Alps. So we were able to showcase our platform at both road and trail major events. And what we have, some of the results we have is that for road races, we're seeing over 50% of people, participants download the app as we first get going. And at the trail event, we had over 90%, a little easier given trail events are typically smaller. And runners they're utilizing the app a lot. They're clicking through all of the notes, mainly, when you see one note and you realize it gives you valuable information, you kind of want to see everything else as well. And they're opening up the course 10 plus times in preparation for the event. So they're really using it to mentally rehearse their race day strategy, which we're really excited about.
Not bad. I'm pretty sure that runners are the core of your business. So what kind of feedback are you receiving from them?
Yeah, so runners first love the fact that they can easily see any part of the course they want. If you want to visualize the last 5K so you can see what what it'll be like when you have your strong finishing strides, NewRun allows you to do that. But the biggest factor is the coaching notes, because whether you run it one time or 20, if this is your first time or 20th time running the race, knowing exactly what to do when you reach certain segments along the course really enhances that race preparation effort. Whether it be your pacing or learning what parts are slow or fast, as one runner puts it, it helps eliminate surprises on race day, which we're really excited about. And many runners are letting us know during race surveys how much more confident they are walking up to the start line if we're doing more races in the upcoming year. So we're, really getting ready so we can add more races, so more organizers can provide this type of experience to their runners. And for event organizers we've worked with, this becomes this enhanced course communication tool, because the race course is the event's main asset. So having a new way, an enhanced way to communicate all parts of the course and what they'll experience and how to achieve your goals along that course is a game changer. And in trail running, there's a big safety component as well. Imagine a course director trying to communicate things about in a specific part of the trail in the Austrian Alps, in which we did this past September. Being able to say, okay, at this point you need to be careful because of X, Y, and Z really makes it so much easier to communicate things about the course and make sure everyone has a safe and smooth and great experience.
And in terms of sponsors, are there any opportunities for them in this kind of events?
Yes. So this is not only an opportunity for events to showcase their course and help runners know what to expect on race day, but this enables an event's brands to be included in this mental preparation journey of these runners. So one fact is, like, runners are able, clicking through all these course notes. Now there's an opportunity for the event to showcase all their course activations. And let's say that there's a brand partner at mile 20 and they want you to know their mile 20, what to expect, and maybe a brand message of encouragement, so that these runners can kind of engage with the brand ahead of race day and know, like, being a part of that race journey. And we're also speaking with larger brands about who sponsor multiple events, about adding all of their events in one spot in the app, so that what events that brand sponsors, and maybe you can get additional digital rewards from that brand for participating in one of their events. So we're really trying to enable these brands to be incorporated in that mental preparation journey way ahead of race day.
Okay, we've talked about runners, we've talked about sponsors, so let's talk about event organizers. How they can add races to your platform?
Yeah, so the process is very straightforward. So we have a list of best set practices of filming a course, whether you're filming it with a car, with an action camera, going through the course on a Saturday or Sunday morning when there's little traffic, or by bike, or for more technical single path trails using a head mount with a GoPro stabilizer. We have a very smooth process to help you film the course. But once we get the course footage, or if you already have footage from previous race day experiences, California National Marathon, for example, gave us race day footage from a few years ago that they were able to just upload to our platform. Once we have that footage, you are able to have a coach write notes and upload the notes along the course, along with course photos that appear on some of the notes with sponsor engagements and stuff like that. And right now we are signing up events to help them through that process. But later in 2022, we will release a self-serve platform that will enable any event to upload their courses on their own in their own section of their app. So right now it's best to contact me at cade@newrun.com, or contact us on our website for more information on onboarding your 2022 events.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kate. Really nice to be meeting you. And congratulations for all what you have achieved so far. I think it's very impressive, and the best of luck for the next few years.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Kate, thanks for sharing NewRun with us, and congrats. What a wonderful innovation. I can see this spreading far and wide in the industry. As we come to the final lap, I guess it is, of this Innovation Spotlight, the njuko Innovation Spotlight presented by GSIC, with Inigo Bonella from GSIC in the chair, having a conversation with all of our innovators. We head further west to the west coast of America. We end up in San Francisco, having started earlier this morning in New Zealand. A very big welcome to Shelley Villalobos. She's the Executive Director of the Council for Responsible Sport. Been doing some amazing things in this space for a long, long time. I first met Shelley before the pandemic, courtesy of Mike Nishi at the Chicago Marathon. The Council for Responsible Sport has an amazing accreditation program creating sustainability across the industry, not only in mass participation. And they have a wonderful innovation. It's a partnership with TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, who's also an old friend of MPW. We've had a number of amazing conversations with Michelle Taylor, the global head of sponsorship for TCS. And this is a great partnership, and it's called Rescore, and a great tool to allow events to be able to check their sustainability impact, the work that they're doing, and measure their environmental and other areas of sustainability as well. So over to you, Shelley. Take it away with Inigo.
Okay, Shelley, welcome to the Spotlight Innovation Series. It's a true pleasure to finally be meeting you. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks, Inigo. Yes, and thank you, Chris. I'm so excited to be here. My name's Shelly Villalobos. I'm the Executive Director at the Council for Responsible Sport. I've worked here since 2013, and I'm excited to tell you a bit more about what we do.
Okay, could you please share a basic introduction about the Council for Responsible Sport?
Sure. So we are a nonprofit for impact organization founded on a vision of a world where responsibly produced sporting events are the norm rather than the exception. So when an event is responsibly produced, it generates less waste and fewer greenhouse gas emissions through careful planning. It recycles the waste it does create, and it offsets the carbon it can't prevent. It supports cause-based fundraising. It brings needed dollars to social and environmental good works. And it trains and inspires healthy lifestyles in people of all creeds, colors, speeds, sizes, and ages. So we offer guidance of good practice and through standards specific to the nuances of hosting large sporting events. And then we independently certify events and organizations that demonstrate their adherence.
Okay, cool. Sounds like a very good initiative. So understanding that the Council publishes different standards, can you please elaborate more and share the basic principles underlying the responsible sport standards?
Sure. Yeah, there are 4 core understandings or beliefs that the standards for responsible sport are built upon. The first is the power of sport. You know, we believe that sport is a diverse and culturally influential platform that can engage and inspire people at all scales and in nearly any place on Earth. The second is resolving climate change, that there's an urgent need to reduce atmospheric greenhouse gases in the current decade in order to prevent the further destabilization of the climate system and the grave dangers that poses to humanity and other forms of life. So we need to address that. The third is enabling social justice. We see that sport platforms that intentionally reduce inequities along racial and social and socioeconomic lines enable progress toward a more equitable society. And the fourth is the business of sport. We recognize that organizations have to create and employ viable, ethical, economic models to try to operate indefinitely in the marketplace. In sum, the reality is that across all sectors, we're doing business in a hotter and more volatile world. Resources are getting more expensive, and technology is allowing for more open flows of data. And with that comes increased expectations of transparency. So, both within corporations themselves and then across their supply chains, and events link in lots of ways to those. So sport is no exception to these new raised expectations, and even while action may not be yet mandated by governments.
Okay, let's talk about technology. So what is Rescore?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm excited to share that Rescore is a new cloud-based application. It helps users measure and manage and achieve the responsible event standards. So it's at its most basic, it's a project management tool to help event planners do the things that they say they would like to do, but seem to struggle to operationalize, like hosting genuinely inclusive events that are climate accountable and supporting the transition to a more circular and socially equitable economy. Those are sort of high ideals, and how do we bring them down into practice? So there's some technicality around those intentions that requires a mix of tools and training, and event planners are busy. So with Rescore, we set out to offer both of those things in a practical way that puts event planners in the driver's seat, guiding their own journey on their own time and budgets and according to their own priorities.
Okay, not bad. And could you please tell us more about how Rescore came up?
Yeah, so Rescore was developed through a partnership with Tata Consultancy Services, which this audience probably knows about them. TCS is a leading technology consultant to hundreds of Fortune 500 companies, but they're also a major sponsor of some of the premier global running events. For this audience, you're probably all most familiar with the TCS New York City Marathon and now the TCS London Marathon. TCS sponsors these events, to promote wellness and health to its employees and clients. But we met them through mutual connections at the Abbott World Marathon Majors and got involved with a sustainability challenge that they were hosting. And then in time, we were introduced to an employee engagement program called Leaders with Purpose that is through TCS's corporate social responsibility group. So long story short, they took on our case pro bono and built, got a team of TCS developers and engineers to custom build the Rescore app over the past year. And so what we did was pair the responsible sports standards with TCS's technology expertise to make the guidance accessible.
Okay, and why is this solution so important to you? What do you expect for the next few years about this solution, or what you are trying to achieve?
Yeah, it may be ambitious and a little bit idealistic or lofty, but we imagine a sports sector that fully embraces the idea of being accountable to itself and to the public, that holds itself to a standard of responsible practice of its own accord. That's our vision. And now with the technology expertise from TCS applied to that concept in our content and the knowledge of the pool of knowledge that comes from the responsible sports standards, now we have Rescore, which has the capacity to measure, record, and authenticate in an unlimited number of sport organizations' actions and impacts. So it's all voluntary, which to me is really important because that's true accountability, is doing the right thing whether or not anyone is watching. And increasingly people are watching and they're asking, from whether it's consumers, sponsors, or other stakeholders. 2/3 of the global economy is now committed to net zero goals with regards to climate change. And as we've seen recently at the climate conference in Glasgow at COP26, commitments lead to scrutiny. So Rescore is really the tool that assists and enables the translation of those intentions and those pledges and commitments into action and measured results over time, because these things don't just get done like that. It's a commitment and it's a journey and a process. So we really think that Rescore is the tool that enables that translation of intentions to action, specific for the sports sector.
Actually, let's talk about the sponsors, because I think it's a core of your business. So what is the value that you can bring to them?
Yeah, I think that this idea of measurement of new metrics beyond ticket and sponsorship and maybe even media rights revenue, these new metrics are going to beget the insights that are needed for continual improvement year over year. And brands are seeking rights holders that can provide them with a platform to promote their own values. So there was actually a recent report, a Nielsen report, that predicted 11% revenue growth over the next 3 to 5 years for rights holders with a sustainability agenda. So not only is it good to do of its own accord and for the positive impacts of doing the things in the standards, but there's actually value to be generated from it as well.
Well, congratulations. I think the vast majority of the audience will be very keen to learn more about your solutions. Tell me more about how they can sign up, how they can learn more about the company. What are the next steps?
Sure. So organizations that host or produce sporting events, or maybe co-host and co-produce them, which is also often the case, can all learn and learn more and sign up by going to sportrescore.org. So just sportrescore, RESCORE.org. And if they want to speak to us directly about their needs and their ideas, I'll be happy to hear from them too. I'll make sure my contact info gets out. But quickly, I'm Shelley at the Council for Responsible Sport.org. So we really built this tool to kind of get out of the way and let groups have a tool that they can do their own good works and measurements and improvements, so that the movement for responsible sport can really start to scale. So I really invite anyone who's heard something of interest here to please reach out and jump in with us. We need your leadership, and it's really an all hands on deck opportunity and moment. So I think everyone's needed, whether they're in ticket sales or operations or facilities or volunteer management, it doesn't matter. Champions look a lot of ways and wear many hats, but I think if we all start and take the action that we can and continue with open minds to learn and have good intention to improve, that we will change sport for the better. And thanks so much for having me.
No, thanks to you, Shelly. It was a true pleasure. Hopefully next year we will meet in person in Singapore. So I know it's a bit far away from your country, but hopefully we will make it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you so much, Shelley. What a great initiative, and I'm sure it's going to have a big impact on the environmental sustainability and other areas of sustainability of mass participation events. Congrats for your partnership with TCS, TCS growing influence and involvement in the industry. Obviously, we just saw recently the new title sponsor of the London Marathon. Next year becomes TCS London Marathon. Great influence on our sport and impact on our sport. A very big final thank you to Inigo for all his time in the studio, and of course to njuko, Pierre de Villeroy and his team. The njuko Innovation Spotlights presented by GSEC, and obviously them powered by Microsoft. That's a lot of brands in there, but some great innovations that we've seen today. All the very best to those innovators. Thank you for sharing with us what you've got, and we look forward to seeing you make an impact on the mass participation industry. So that's pretty much a wrap for day 3, and a few little announcements to make before we finish up. Firstly, a start to say a big thank you again to our partners, without whom we wouldn't have been able to make this possible, to bring it to you. A big thank you to the CGX team out of Beijing for live streaming us into China, a massive and exciting step for MPW, and they've been working with us for a while now with our World Athletics webinars that I host monthly. Great partnership with World Athletics, and a big thank you to Alessio Punzi and our MPW web series we've recently started live streaming. A reminder again that if there's maybe one of the innovation spotlights that you missed or you'd like to see more of, all of this is free whilst it's live, but next week it moves on to the MPW Academy, and you can jump on there for a small fee. You can pay to watch it. Join the MPW Academy. There's over 100 hours of free content on there, and great opportunity for you to share it with your teams and partners and so on. And we'll be adding more and more content there during the course of 2022. Now, before we wrap up, I want to invite you to join us over the next 2 days. We have some amazing workshops and the opportunity for you to be in the room, virtual albeit that it will be, with decades of experience in this industry and other industries. We have 6 workshops over the next 2 days, 3 on Thursday, tomorrow, and 3 on Friday. Amazing and very relevant topics. We're going to cover medical, what do medical plans look like as we go forward, 2022 and beyond. A huge thank you to Hugh Singh and Event Health Management for curating and pulling that together. Tomorrow we have a wonderful workshop on sustainability, and absolutely delighted with the support of Tony Bonney and Grow on Purpose. Tony is a partner of the event. He's helped me curate the program. He has helped set out the framework for the workshops, and he's going to be in conversation with Shelley Villalobos, who you met earlier, and Winnie Tan, who is also an old friend of MPW, used to be with us at Standard Chartered Bank when we used to organize the Standard Chartered Singapore Marathon. Now the head of sustainability at Great Eastern in Singapore, and that's going to be absolutely wonderful. The final choice for tomorrow is sponsorship, and we have an amazing panel there. Caroline Darcy, the former global head of sponsorship for Standard Chartered Bank, again an old friend of MPW. We have Tori Dorsey from Sale GP and Julia Tui from CGX Management, who you've heard me mention a few times. A wonderful session there. So hopefully you can join us tomorrow. And then when we move across to Friday, we're going to have a great panel on partnering with government. That's headed up by Jason Gerwitz from Teams out of the US. Huge experience in this space with their own conference. Lots of engagement with government. Hugely excited to announce that we've confirmed Mr. Lim Tek Yin, the CEO of Sports Singapore. So there's a great example. How often do you get a chance to spend 2 hours in a virtual room with someone of that experience to understand what governments are looking for? And then we have an amazing panel with diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is being curated by Mike Nishi, the CEO of Chicago Event Management. So be sure to come and join us for those over the next 2 days. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, and having another wonderful session. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.